I'm remaking the Super Nintendo game PLOK. Today we need to add the secret bonus stage that can be found in the third level. This special stage is a race against time where PLOK uses a motorbike to get to the finish. This stage is brutal. I wanted to play through it on the original and capture it for footage and reference it when making the level, and it took me so many attempts to beat the level. The timing is so tough. First off, we have the art for the motorbike. If you're in the Discord, you'll have seen this around the time of the previous devlog. I decided not to draw additional rotation frames and instead opted to rotate the actual sprite itself. The bike went through a lot of iterations. First of all, I tried creating a bike-shaped collider with the intention of letting Unity handle the rotations naturally for me, and then clamping the max angles later. However, this wasn't exactly stable. Then I opted to make the bike work the same as the default player controller, but allowed for acceleration and sliding when coming to a stop. We had a few bugs up slopes. I then experimented with rotating the bike based on the angle of the slope, and also making the bike rotate when jumping and in freefall. I experimented with smoothing these rotations out. The end result has a smooth jump and freefall, but driving on the ground is snappier to the terrain. I started working on the grenade throwing functionality that the bike has. First of all, I started with using the helicopter projectiles from last time. I then drew art for the grenades and their explosions. With the grenades working, their smoke effect made me decide to add smoke effects for the bike. I first of all wanted to do this using a trail renderer, but it was questionable early on, so I changed to using a particle system instead. I did have to move the position of the particle emitter when the bike flips, so that it's always at the back of the bike, as you'd get this effect if not. Here's it working. I took a break and I decided to divert a little and look at sound isolation. I had a lot of comments asking for the PLOK damage noise, and I can't find it online, so I decided to try sound isolation. Essentially, I recorded some footage of the original game where PLOK takes damage. Then I turned it into audio, I bring it into OBS, swap to spectrogram mode, and then I can start to isolate the sounds. They're pretty apparent when they happen. You can see this one here with 3 lines, but it's not always the case. Sometimes it can be jumbled in with other noises. But for a few of these, I can try and remove the frequencies that aren't part of this sound. It's not perfect. For the death sound, I was able to isolate the first part of it, and then I could make my own version of it by repeating the sound multiple times and reducing its volume each time. To be able to hear these noises play out, I needed to change what happens when PLOK dies. I changed it so that the game pauses briefly after PLOK dies and puts him in the injured pose. I then changed my injured shader to take the largest time between the current time, which can be paused, and unscaled time, which cannot be paused. Shadergraph doesn't seem to have an unscaled time variable, so instead the script overrides a variable I made called unscaled time and uses that instead. Because the unscaled time variable has to be overridden via script, it means that all the existing flashing effects that I've got, like the bosses, the fruit, they're not affected and they won't continue flashing if the game is paused or PLOK dies. But because the player movement script is overriding this time, that will continue when the game is paused or PLOK dies. After drawing some red slopes, I began to map out the level. My bonus stage uses less harsh slopes, but they do allow you to build up speed and control your bike pretty well. I increased the time to beat the level, so it's better suited to the new level length. You can probably make 1 or 2 mistakes and still manage to reach the goal in time if you're lucky. There's a few hazards in the level, such as spikes and jumps over water. I used a trail renderer to see where the bike travelled during the level, so I could move the collectibles into easier to reach spots. For the background, I just changed the colour to brown for the default sky background. The bike level is done. Here's the full level. I then went ahead and linked up the third level's fruit item to take you to the motorbike stage. Then I created teleports that you unlock for beating it. These take you to the blind leap stage right before the first boss. Currently the teleporters are the same colour. Let me know how I should telegraph which teleports go where. I was thinking either different coloured warps, symbols overlaid on the warps, or letters. I believe there's going to be 10 warps in total, so that should be kept in mind when trying to come up with ideas to solve this problem. Real quick, I want to mention that I've been uploading level comparisons between the Super Nintendo version and my remake. These are shorts and aren't published to subscribers to prevent spam. They've been scheduled for Mondays and Wednesdays, and I'll start working on a motorbike bonus stage comparison and schedule that if you're interested. For now, that's everything. Be sure to subscribe to keep up to date on my PLOK remake. Thanks for watching.